So, let's talk about Nintendo Labo. Launching on the 20th of April 2018 was Nintendo's latest game? Honestly, Nintendo Labo is less game as we know it and more toy, which is a really nice nod to the company's roots as a playing card and toy company throughout the 1880s all the way into the 1970s. That said, Nintendo Labo is still a Nintendo Switch-based thing and it does come with software. Before we go any further, we need to talk the price. The Nintendo Labo Variety Kit, the one I own, will run you about $70 USD, and the Giant Robot Kit about $80. Either way, you're spending more than you would in a standard edition game anywhere else. The price is a barrier to entry, for sure, but it is partly justified with what's inside. Speaking of what's inside the box you'll find either game in a really sad looking case. Decorate it, please. Grab colored pencils and decorate this. A bag of string and bobbins and some other guff. A big chunk of cardboard in the Variety Kit. This has no use, you're not using this. And then a whole bunch of cardboard sheets. These make up the meat of Labo. Yep, it's cardboard. Now, sure, I'm spending $10 to $20 extra for some flimsy cardboard panels. But again, we'll talk about that soon. How about we boot up the game first? The game that comes in Nintendo Labo starts you off by asking you to build a Joy-Con holder, a small bit of cardboard that will easily fit one of the console's controllers. To my knowledge, this piece serves no purpose, you're just kind of building it to see how the software works and get some of the underlying basic principles of papercraft down. The build tutorials are not just video or step-by-step picture instructions like you'd find in a Lego kit, no. They're actually fully rendered in 3D. You can zoom in, you can rotate, you can fast forward and rewind, and I've got to give high marks to the animators who worked on these. They are super legit. Also, I cannot wait for these models to be extracted and uploaded to the SFM workshop. I want high poly string, I want high poly cardboard. Please rig it. Thank you. Following the tutorial, the Variety Kit starts you off by having you build an RC car, though it's really more of a little bug thing. You punch out the design, fold it together, fit a couple tabs through a couple slots, and sooner or later you've built yourself a little cardboard bug. Slot the Joy-Cons into the holes on the side, and then you use the console itself to move the bug by tapping buttons on screen. Get the haptic actuators moving, and you kind of steer it like you would a canoe. Again, this is high marks to Nintendo. This is really cool. You're turning the console into the controller into the output mechanism to pilot the toy. That's neat. You can't do that with an Xbox One. That just stares at you while you play Cuphead at 3 in the morning crying into your beer. And hey, the little black bar on the Joy-Cons, I knew it could be used kind of like a Wii remote for, like, say, World of Goo, but it turns out the thing's also a night vision camera. And you can use it to pick up light from these reflective stickers you get a bunch of, and that's... How long have you been working in Nintendo Labo? Because I'm pretty sure 90% of this tech was designed for Nintendo Labo. But yeah, these little reflective stickers used by the Labo kits to figure out what the player is doing without the need of pressing certain buttons or whatever. It's frankly really neat in that regard. The Giant Robot Kit shows us off the best as you slot the controller into the back and your actions move 4 pulleys, which the game uses to figure out the positions of your arms and legs and translate them onto the robot. This isn't my Giant Robot Kit, this is one I just had on hand to show off the underlying mechanism. No matter what kit you go after next, it's going to take quite a while. The next shortest kit claims it'll be 90 minutes to put together. Set aside some time, clear your schedule, but frankly, it's made the same deal all the way down. You use the instructions in Make Mode to assemble the cardboard toy, it unlocks a minigame in Play Mode, whether it be fishing, racing, toy piano, etc. But what about Discover Mode? Well, that's, you know. Discover Mode is essentially a set of tiny little classes designed for people just barely meeting their age rating on the box, and talks about the functions of the Joy-Cons and how it relates to Labo, as well as explaining how to maintain the cardboard toys and responsible decoration techniques. It's a bit juvenile. There it is. Though in Labo's defense, I'm a decade and change older than the recommended age rating, so that's whatever. That said, there's some good points made here in Discover. There's a pretty in-depth bit on how the IR camera works, which I thought was pretty neat. What you're probably here for is the Garage, which acts as a proto-programming tool to let you cross-functionality with the other toys and even use some of the other stuff in the box. Programming in Labo's Garage is probably closest to WarioWare DIY. Who remembers that thing? Retweet if you do, like if you don't, gratuitous emoji, etc. In that you put together primitive if-then statements to make your own experiments with the toys. It's a really neat diversion, and some people have already made some really cool things. As for the actual minigames themselves, they're alright. Nothing particularly groundbreaking, but quite alright indeed. It's cool to see Nintendo making toys again. I hope this is the start of a successful series of Nintendo Labo. But, the cost. The Switch is already $300. Factor in, say, $60 for a micro SD card, and Labo will run you another $70. when you could purchase Payday 2 on the console for $50 or Doom, Zelda, or Mario Odyssey for $60. And most of your indie darlings on the console like The Binding of Isaac, Super Meat Boy, or Celeste will run you $40 or less. But again, consider you're not just getting a game, it's a crafts toy as well. I don't consider myself very good at building things with my bare hands. One of them tires quickly writing an essay, and the other can't even handle a spoon or my own name. But building the Labo toys was a really good experience for me, and I do feel a bit more confident in my abilities after building a couple of these. I could see Labo being really good for its target audience. It's a good mix of video game and practical skills, and the practical skills come first. It teaches kids patience, creative expression, thoroughness, and they've got to be able to see something through to the end to play the game. But building the toy might just be as rewarding as the game itself, if not more. Even outside this, Labo is less like a proper video game and more like an augmented reality model kit. And in a world where augmented reality is expensive and model kits are really friggin' expensive, Labo's price tag seems fair enough to me. That said, I do have a few significant concerns. My first is that it's a physical cartridge instead of a digital download. So what, right? Big deal? I mean, how are you going to digitally download the cardboard? Well, when games come out for the Switch that I really want to support, I buy the physical copy. It helps the devs out, and especially with like the Nasalis titles, or however you pronounce that name, it comes with a lot of really cool feelies and a full-color manual. If I want to play The End Is Nigh, or Cave Story, or heck, Payday, I need to eject the Labo cartridge, stick it in its case, grab the right case, open it, remember I put the game in my travel pouch, fish that out of the pouch, and stick it in. Labo, at least in my opinion, could have been a digital download code in the box. And the game itself would be code only on the eShop, not unlike how Nintendo handed out Mewtwo for Super Smash Bros. Via Club Nintendo years back. Switching games is one of the biggest hassles when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, and Labo does its fair share in slowing down going from game to game, and then some. My second concern is a tad bit more personal, but these things take up space. Space I don't necessarily have. Disassembling Labo is really not an option. The tabs keep nice and firm in the slot. And sure, that's a good thing. It keeps the toys stable. But it also makes storing them a bigger hassle than it needs to be. The box is huge, yeah, but it's mostly flat, and some of these toys are rather tall. I have to clear out closet or drawer space to keep these things, and what about 6 months from now? A year from now? What will become of my Labo set when I've moved on? I'll have a ton of bulky cardboard I had fun assembling once and playing with maybe like 10 times. Any other video game, I can stick it back in its case and back on the shelf. Heck, with one of those racing games or anything with the big plastic peripherals, I can chuck that in a bin in the basement and that's that. But Labo is cardboard. I can't just toss it in a storage bin. You're pretty much going to have to make shelf space for these things. Also, again, it's cardboard. It'll tear, it'll bend, it'll get wet, and most of these models are pretty delicate when it comes to keeping them working properly. Most damage you could probably tape or glue back together, but what about, say, the legs and the RC critter? You bend them slightly and it's not going to work. Thankfully, Nintendo does sell replacement models through their website and they're relatively cheap, all things considered. As of right now though, there's no leaked schematics, so you really can't pirate Labo kits, but you could punch out a kit and trace the pieces onto a fresh sheet of Kurgate to mass produce pieces. They even outright suggest doing that to make multiple masks for the giant robot. I'm not even joking, it's in the game. Pirate our cardboard. So, with all that in mind, my final verdict on Nintendo Labo is... it's fun. I like it. But you might want to find a chum to split the cost and the workload. Building the toys themselves is super satisfying, but it takes a while, and I'm not sure it's worth the price of admission. If you really enjoy being hands-on and have plenty of spare cardboard or art supplies, you can definitely make Labo into a real total time sink. Make bunches of copies of the RC bug, decorate them all separately, and have like a tournament with them, or create an army of Labo Man, trademark, troops that you kind of just topple like dominoes. Yeah, it's a bit pricey, and I'm not going to say I dislike Nintendo Labo. I want to see this do well. I want to see Nintendo become a toy company again, because that's just rad. But I still recommend checking it out, preferably with someone. Grab some cardboard, grab a friend, get into the garage, and go nuts. And donuts. This isn't relevant to the video or anything, I just wanted to include a donut. Hey, I know that Payday thing is happening. Spring break, okay? Next week's videos will be a day late, both of them. On Tuesday, we'll talk about the spring break event as a whole. And then on Friday, we'll be back to 2 different builds. Okay? Okay. Thanks for watching. Social media links and Patreon are in the description.